but I like Ren. I like Ren.
I like Ren too.
I like Ren. Like Ren.
I like you too, man. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's your guy Ren. Welcome to Cinema Slime, the podcast for film lovers who can't stop talking about the movies that move us, confuse us, or just make us want to yell at the screen. I'm joined, as always, by my brilliant co-hosts Harrison and Scott. Let's go. What'd you do today, man?
Yeah, not much today, but I do have some movie reports that I can give you guys.
That's really what I was asking.
So Jamie's actually been into watching movies more often lately. About every day, he's like, okay, what movie are we watching today? And I'm like, I like this. This is pretty sweet. So, and then we watched a couple of movies, and he came to me one day. He's like, hey, Dad, what are my favorite movies? I don't remember. I'm like, okay, let me get you set up. So I actually set him up with a Letterboxd account, and he's going through and ranking the movies. I mean, it's either 1 star or 5 stars. There's nothing in between. But he went through and ranked some movies, and then he wrote reviews for them. They're all like, great movie. The girl in the blue shirt was really pretty, things like that. pretty simple. But we went through a couple movies. We were doing some Studio Ghibli films. We watched My Neighbor Totoro, which he really liked. Actually, he really, really liked it up until the cat bus showed up. And then he was like, what is that? And it kind of like, which is weird because he's kind of into like weird creatures and things like that. But that one really unsettled him for some reason.
Yeah, so that one unsettled me, but nothing else in the movie did.
Then we watched, then he watched Spirited Away, and I watched I was kind of like half watching it because I was just doing chores around the house and things like that. And that movie is a real fever trip if you're not actually watching it, because you just kind of like look up and you're like, whoa, why does that lady's head so huge? And like, whoa, why is this weird spirit like eating people? And like, I don't know, it was kind of a trip.
Bicycles.
Exactly. Then we did Ghostbusters 1 and 2, which he really liked. And then we watched Ponyo, which I loved. Oh my gosh. Like, that movie was really good. Like, that scene where the little boy and Ponyo, they're like running at each other in the streets, and she like grows into a whole human being and like jumps into his arms. I was just like, oh my gosh, why is this so beautiful?
Are you just now diving into the Miyazaki world? This seems recent.
Yeah, so I watched Ponyo and Porco Rosso like forever ago, like way back in high school times. But other than that, I haven't watched any of them. So yeah, like I said, I was busy during Spirited Away, but I would love to sit down and watch just like all of it and just really consume it.
They cycle through the OMSI theater pretty regular. Just keep your eyes on that and go watch them there.
I like it. Good idea.
Well, I have a little caveat to that recommendation, Scott.
Oh, coming in with a hot take.
Let me just tell you something. Let me tell you about my experience.
So read the fine print. TLDR, read the fine print.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we had seen My Neighbor Totoro. My kids freaking love it. They're always like on Amazon looking at Totoro like merch, just anytime they can get. And I saw that they were playing it at the movie theater, and I was like, sick, I got free tickets to the movie theater. This is perfect. Let's go. Because we've seen it. It'll be great on the big screen. Come on, let's go. And like, I had to like talk them into it, and I dragged my wife there. And then we get there, and I try to redeem my free movie tickets, and they go, oh, this is a special viewing, so these actually don't apply. And I'm like, well, damn. And it was like $55 for 4 people. It was like, I was like, okay, it'll be fun. I'm with the family. It's all good. And we sit down, we get some popcorn, and we're getting all nestled and comfortable. And there's probably like 15 other people in the movie theater, not totally packed. The movie starts, and it's in a different language. And I was like, oh, this isn't Japanese. Well, we don't speak Japanese, but we've seen the movie, so it'll be okay. And then I realized that my kids can't read fast enough for subtitles. So that was their first subtitle film. Yeah, it wasn't very fun. It was basically like really tense the whole time we watched the movie.
It was really tense.
Yeah, I just looked over my wife. She just was like, oh no. It was a long movie. It was a long viewing.
Kids are sitting there like, Dad, why? Oh my gosh.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I know how to read at a fast pace. And
yeah, if your kids could just like, up their game, it would have been better. So
honestly, a lot of the context like made more sense hearing it in the original language that it was like made for. But if you're a kid, probably didn't evoke much feeling, I would just guess.
So if that were us, it would have been like 35 minutes into the film, and Hawkins would have been silent the entire time, and then he would have been in the middle of the movie theater, too loud. He'd say, "Dad, why are they speaking Japanese?"
He finally settles down. It is,
or no, it would probably been, "Dad, why are they speaking Spanish?"
Yeah.
There you go. And you're just like, oh man.
Movie theaters, dude, it's very stimulating. Like sometimes it's so loud, and like if you like sit like the front 2-3 rows, sometimes it's just like it's kind of too much. Like you can't remember the movie.
There's like an autism society, like, you know, they help families with autism in the area. They actually hold movie theater nights where you can sign up and you'll go to the theater, and they basically change all the settings in the theater. They'll lower the volume, they'll keep the lights on slightly a little brighter, and they just, you know, they provide like little fidget toys for kids and things like that. There's bean bags all over the place, and it's pretty awesome. Like honestly, I went when I went to my first one, I was like, wow, I should watch movies like this all the time at the theater. Like it's way less, you know, pressured. They have subtitles on too, which my wife actually prefers having subtitles on, and I'm kind of used to it as well. Yeah, it was kind of nice going there and be like, okay, the speakers aren't just like smashed in my face, you know, the whole time we were watching the movie.
I wanted to share a movie that I watched. It's called Paris, Texas.
Oh, gee. What a transition.
No, I wanna. Yeah, no, that's not the transition. We sat down to watch a movie called The Legend of Ochi. Have you guys seen that?
No.
It just came out. I wrote a review for it. I'll just read it on here on the podcast. But I wrote
the girl in the blue shirt is pretty.
Not
there you go.
It's actually a little more descriptive. Legend of Ochi. I give it 3 stars. My review was whatever. That's all I had.
Straight up.
That's all I had. And I was looking at every other review of this movie, and they almost said exactly the same thing. No, I would just pass on that movie if you guys see it. It looked adorable. The special effects were kind of cool, but it was just like trying too hard. I don't want to be negative, but it was
nothing burger. You're
I
like,
literally,
okay.
I said that as I like walked off. I was like, that was a big old nothing burger. But yeah.
So speaking of movies that Ren doesn't like, I thought it was funny how 2 podcasts ago, Harrison was like, "Ren, what's your ideal movie length?" And you said 90 minutes. And then the next movie we watched was Tremors, and that was 96 minutes long. So basically your ideal movie length. And then you picked a 2.5 hour long movie for us to watch.
I did.
So what was that movie, Ren? See, was that a better transition?
That is a good transition. All right.
There you go.
Play the intro.
An amnesiac drifter named Travis Henderson, with no memory of the past 4 years, reemerges from the desert and attempts to reconnect with his young son, Hunter. With the help of his brother, Travis begins a journey into the lonely, hauntingly beautiful American landscape, trying to piece together his past and find his lost wife, Jane. Through their travels, Travis and Hunter develop a deep connection, culminating in a poignant and emotional reunion with Jane that forces them to confront the painful memories and unspoken truths that tore their family apart. This is 1984's Paris, Texas.
There you go. That's all we needed. By the way, so just watching the movie on your screen and there's no sound at all, this movie really looks like a horror film to me. I don't know what it is.
That look is pretty terrifying that Travis is doing right there in the middle of the desert, all scrappy.
So what, Ren, this was on your list. Was this just a movie you were like, oh, I just heard good things about it, or have you seen it before?
That's basically it. Yeah. I don't know how well it falls into the category of small town, but it feels like a small town.
I would say it was more like a road trippy type of film. Yep. Lots of traveling between, you know, big cities and small towns and things like that. It kind of starts out kind of small towny, but
the town that they don't visit is a small town.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The town that is the title of the movie. The town that of the title of the movie is the one they never visit, is the small town.
There's also like 5 actors in the whole movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I had just heard good recommendations throughout the years, and I didn't realize till after the movie was over the last scene of the film that I'm sure we'll spend some time talking about. That we actually covered this a bit in my film class, but me in high school watching this movie, like, forget about it.
There was no hope.
There was not a moment of time that would pass where I wouldn't get bored. Things have changed. I think I've evolved a little bit. Devolved in some areas, evolved in some other. I just remember kind of going over that last scene in film class. I gotta say, I know I've talked about the length of movies more than a couple times, and this was an exception. This movie is fucking awesome. Like, this movie like destroyed me watching it. It was really, really powerful. There's just something about this movie that it just felt special. I don't even know how to like put it into words. You know, kind of researching how they filmed the movie. A lot of things became even more apparent to me. Like, just for example, they actually filmed the whole movie in sequence. Most films are kind of filmed kind of sporadically, depending on like an epic fight scene. Maybe they'll do that at the beginning of like the whole filming process or whatever, but it's out of order. But this one, they did it in continuum. And Wim Wenders was just kind of talking about how when films are made that way, it completely puts the actor in charge of their performance. Because in their head, they're not doing mental gymnastics as to like, oh yeah, so I haven't learned this part of the story yet, and they're kind of backtracking it. And I just think the way it was developed and how it all laid out in the end, I think that was very apparent. At least that's something that I thought about the movie. But what did you think about this movie, Harrison?
Oh boy. So my experience with this film, I'll be honest, it wasn't very positive. I actually did not enjoy this movie, especially as much as the way you're sounding it. I felt like it has a very strong message and a goal, like what it's trying to tell us. I think it tells us decently well. I think it had some extremely very strong emotional moments in it, few great scenes, but I really think this film could have been easily 45 minutes shorter, and I think it would have been just as strong and just as powerful. Like, that's not to knock like the actors at all. I love the way it was filmed. I especially, this was actually one of the few movies where I was like, I kind of want to. Have you ever seen those color palettes for films where they take every single frame of a movie and they just put it as like a piece of artwork, and it shows you kind of the colors of the film throughout it. This was one that I was like, I kind of want to look at it. And it was really interesting to see there was just these like sections of different colors throughout the film. Like, especially at the very beginning, there's that scene where he passes out in that like restaurant or convenience store or whatever, and the doctor brings him in, he's checking him out, and the room's just all green, which I don't know why the room is all green, by the way. I was very unsure of why it was all green. But and then at the end of the movie, there's some very strong green coloring in that film as well. Then there's a strip of pink when he goes to the Peep show for the first time to see his wife, and it was just kind of cool to look at that. I don't know why I don't know. I just had an inspiration to look at that, and it kind of put some stuff into perspective for me. But yeah, overall, like, yeah, this film was a little hard for me to get through because it was just really slow. Like, it was really, really slow for me.
Hopefully this actually changes when we bounce ideas off each other and stuff. I watched it and I mean, I really enjoyed the movie, like, all the way through. And there have been movies that I didn't like and I didn't want to talk about. And there was movies that I really liked but were terrible, like The Devil All the Time, you know, and I didn't want to talk about it because it was like, that's a freaking intense movie, and like, do I actually want to talk about that? This movie I liked, and I just don't know what to say about it. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot to say because it's such an experiential movie. It's not a plot-driven movie. It's an emotional movie, and it just feels the whole way through. I have thoughts and stuff that I think as an art piece I think is really great, you know. And I'm still trying to grapple with and try to like put in a neat box what I think of the message and the story and stuff like that. I don't think it really fits into a great box, and I think that's probably the point. I could make claims and stuff, and I could side with or try and argue against what the popular, I don't know, ideas about it or what philosophies it kinds of aligns with and things. But yeah, it's a movie that I watched a little bit at a time because it was a really busy time. I watched it like spread out across a week was like 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time all the way through. And so this movie felt even longer to me. And I kind of feel like that worked for this movie in particular. So controversial might not be the right word for this movie, but certainly not a very American movie, ironically, being based in the heart of America.
Yeah.
I think just bouncing off what you said there, one reason this movie was a little tough for me was because as I was watching it, I've said a couple times that there's been a couple movies where you can figure out what kind of movie it is from the very beginning or very early in. This movie took me like an hour and a half to be like, oh, that's what kind of movie this is. I actually distinctly had a moment where I hit about the 1 hour mark and I was like, is this going to turn into a horror movie? Like I legitimately thought that in my head. I was like, hold on, like where is this going? And I had another experience in another movie, kind of the similar vein of this. I really randomly picked a movie. It's called Past Lives, and it's a story about these two kids growing up together, and basically it's kind of like a missed opportunity moment for them to get together and fall in love and grow up together. And later on, they reconnect. And I was kind of watching it, and I was like, okay, this is like a nice little romance film. I'm excited about it, and I'm watching it. And I remember I had like a click moment where I was like, oh, this is a movie about two people just falling in love. There's no drama. There's no like big explosion. There's no comedy in it. It's just two people falling in love. I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm so used to films like that are more dramatic and they have more big moments in it and things like that. So that's kind of the way Paris, Texas felt as well. It just, about like I said, like an hour in, I was like, is this going to be a horror movie? Then about 20 minutes later, I was like, oh, okay. This is the kind of movie it is, and I now have a grasp on it.
So interesting how different we all feel about this movie, because dude, I am a sucker for like the cinematography, just the overall, dude, every single scene in this movie. Okay, what you need to do, here's what I did just today. I was just kind of doing some last minute research and stuff, but if you go on YouTube and just look up composition cinematography for Paris, Texas, every single shot is like as intentional as you could ever imagine. What is really cool is on this video, they put a 3x3 grid on the screen, and they show you every screen, every shot that they do in the film, and how everything lines up with either like the golden ratio, triangle compositions, the rule of thirds. There's dynamic symmetry, frames within frames, symmetrical composition, patterns and textures, and just like angles. And you're right, for a film that's sort of like this slow meandering, like you're kind of like almost feel like a detective trying to figure out why this dude is just wandering through the desert. He doesn't say a damn word for 45 minutes. He's reluctantly being like rescued by his brother, and you just piece together all these things. But the cinematography is what kept me just totally locked in. And dude, there's just like cinema magic. And I'm not alone in this, but I think obviously it's sort of the minority of us three. But there was just a few scenes. The scene where his brother is playing that Super 8 film, and he's seeing himself in this happier state of his life, and he's with his wife and the son, who's a lot younger at the time, Hunter. And everyone is just glowing. The soundtrack is just blasting. The kid is watching his dad, just remembering how he used to be with his mom and how they used to be a family. And then the movie stops and he's back to reality. And his son like comes up and like gives him a hug or something, or says goodnight to him for like the first time. He's kind of like not in denial that this is his dad. And dude, I like ugly cried for like 5 minutes. And there's something I'm trying to figure out, like my psyche, like my psychology, because there's this what's it called, like an archetype of like a film or like a story, but like the concept of like a father like trying to find his son, or a son trying to help his dad, or this reoccurring theme that's in so many movies. I think of like Ad Astra, like he has to go into space and rescue his dad, and just these stories. And then the movie kind of shifts, and then it's like, hey, me and my son are going to go rescue our mom or my wife. And the movie just kind of takes these little slight turns throughout the whole way. And I just like, it destroyed me. It's so interesting how it just like didn't make you guys feel similar, it sounds like, at all. But like the father-son aspect of it to me was special. I loved it.
Just to clarify, I would say there's some extremely strong scenes in this one. I would say, like I said, the scene where they're watching the home videos. The other one that really hit me pretty big was when him and his son are walking home from school and they're
Oh
walking on
my
separate
God,
sides of the street. And that
that's
moment
so
when he crosses the street to hit him, I was like, dang, like, ooh, like,
yeah.
so, like, and what's crazy about it, that scene is so simple. Like, there's nothing fancy about it or anything. It's just the act of him joining his son on the other side of the street that really hit me hard. And of course, the the Peep show scene at the very end, that was extremely strong. Like I said, I feel like the film is just really long, and I feel like there's just sections of the movie where I'm like, I feel like you could have cut this whole scene and the film would have been fine. I think, like, for example, I feel like the section where they're trying to get on an airplane and he ends up not getting on the plane. I feel like that whole section of the film was there just to explain the fact that they had to drive home and not fly home. And
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like they could have. I feel like they could have just torn that out and just shrunk the movie down. And I think it would have been made just a little bit more impactful to me. So so yeah, in no way am I saying that I didn't have emotions and strong feelings toward it. I just feel like this movie could have been just a little bit better if they made just some different choices.
So yeah, I'm gonna push on that a little bit, push back a little bit. I think this is one of the aspects of film that is not really explored in mainstream movies much. It's kind of like the difference between like a pop culture art, like visual art, or something. It's like goes on a comic book cover or something. Fantastic talent, stuff like that. It's great composition, whatever, but it serves a very specific purpose to just sell a comic, right? And then you have some art piece, like I don't know enough about the arts to be able to like talk about artists very deeply or whatever, but you look at a classic piece of art like a Picasso or something like that, and like it just has unspoken depth, and it doesn't actually have to be good per se. And the fact that it's not trying to be this polished specific goal thing, I think is what gives it its depth and its power. And that's how I feel about this movie. And so I would say that this movie had to be as long as it was on purpose, because it's slow and it's boring, and that gives a different feel to the movie than, hey, let's gut punch you over and over and over with this tight pacing. I actually really, really liked, Ren has kind of mentioned this a couple of times, and just a longer shot will make you sit and think about the shot more. And you're like, why hasn't it cut yet? Come on, we need to cut this movie. Like, this is feeling slow. But then the fact that it does that was done on purpose. It wasn't bad editing. It was done on purpose. And what does that do to you? What does that do for the flavor of the movie? My pushback here is not that I think you're wrong, because I think you're right. If this movie was attempting to have tight pacing and pump through a story, it did not do that well. But if the point was, let's show this sad, regretful amnesiac coming back and remembering his horribleness bit at a time, and the awkward tension between brothers that do love each other, and there's no drama in this. It's just things that happened. Like, this movie was like things that happened. It's like Napoleon Dynamite, but not trying to be funny. It's just a boring long movie with like a story worth watching. I had this thought as I was out with the family driving, had about like an hour drive, and most of the people in the car were asleep after doing a hike and stuff. So that was great. So I was thinking about this movie, and I had this thought, and I didn't do enough research into the background of this movie. So maybe Ren corroborate or just totally shoot this down.
I've got some good stuff.
But it felt to me like this was like a French art house movie made for Americans in America. And then I was like, well, I mean, the director and the film studio that did this is this German European place. And it made me wonder, like, how much of this movie feels weird because it's a European movie made for Americans in America. Mm-hmm. And we're just not used to this kind of pacing in this kind of movie. Like I could absolutely imagine this being like an indie French art house domestic drama movie, and it's just like quiet and introspective and stuff like that, but like in the middle of Texas, like, for real.
Yeah, Yeah, if they spoke French, it would feel just like a French film.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to shout out the kid actor who plays Hunter. There was like multiple scenes where I was just like, dude, what? Where did they find this kid? Funnily enough, I just watched. I guess apparently his mother is an actress, and I just watched a movie with her and Jack Nicholson called Five Easy Pieces. It was just sort of like, oh, weird. I like recently watched that a couple months ago, and I didn't know who the heck she was. I just kind of researched her, but then all of a sudden I'm watching a movie where her son is in this film. It was just kind of one of those weird little facts.
No, yeah, no. Honestly, I think he's probably one of the better, child actors I've seen in a while in a film. Like, I feel like he had some very strong moments with Travis.
Gosh, the freaking scene when his mom comes to the hotel at the end, I sobbed. I was just like, I was like, this is, and the way, like, talking about child actor doing it right, like the way that he was just like out in the corner. He's been trapped in this hotel by himself all day. Well, it's like totally welcome to the 80s. That was pretty funny.
Mhm.
How many times I was like, they're just not wearing seatbelts again.
Yeah.
He like looks up and sees his mom and he knows it's her. And he like walks up and he like touches her and then like jumps into her like
He doesn't
arms.
just touch her; he puts his hands like on her belly.
Yeah, I mean it's like the most
And he
like
melts into her. Oh,
it's
my
the most
God.
like little thing to their mom. Like I can absolutely see my 6-year-old doing that.
Absolutely.
I need my mama to be whole kind of feeling. And I don't know, it started out like, what's this gonna be and how's it gonna act? There was nothing fake feeling about it.
Mhm.
I actually went to the credits and looked up. I was like, was this kid this girl's like son? They weren't related. It was just two actors. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, that scene destroyed me. Well, you mentioned it earlier, Harrison, and I kind of had this suspicion the whole movie, but I was like, okay, the colors have to mean something. I've heard two different things. Basically, sometimes directors will like throw you off their scent and just kind of be short when they get asked the same question over and over. Because if you would have asked Vin Vendors the same question, like when the movie came out, he says something different than what he says today. If you ask him today, he kind of just says, "Oh, yeah, we just used a lot of white, blue, and green, and it looked good for the cinematographer." But if you go back in time, or if you look at any of these videos that kind of dissect this film, the green light typically represents a moment in the storyline or a thought that's going on in Travis's head that he's in a decisive kind of moment in the story where he doesn't really know what to do. And every time he's kind of like pondering or looking out into the distance, or he's like walking through a building he doesn't know, or just whatever. Sometimes it's just pretty scenery, but the green light is there. Or like when that vodka swishing doctor is like giving him his diagnosis in the very beginning, it's all green. He doesn't know. There's uncertainty about him. And then when there's red, it's when he's like talking about his wife or remembering how he was in love, or like the red car, or there's like red like window shades, and then there's just everything sort of has color symbolism to it, which is just another layer to the cinematography that I loved. So I don't know if that answers your question, but there's just sort of some. It's not. No one said definitively what the colors mean, but it all matches up with that type of outline.
So there's this one shot when they're driving, Travis and Walter are driving home. Walter's driving, Travis is in the seat next to him, and they're talking back and forth. But instead of framing it like looking into the front window of the Millennium Falcon, you see the whole cast talking to each other like every movie ever does, because like, duh. They split it up and they have two cameras.
Yeah.
And they put it so it's not like we're zoomed into one face. It's like you can see the driver crunched up onto the one side of the screen and you see outside of the car. And it's like they're barely even in the screen. And then it cuts to the other person talking and they're scrunched up to the other opposite side of the screen. Oh yeah, this good one, looking through the mirror and just his eyes and that decision-making process.
Mm-hmm. There was a cool segment in the bonus features of Vin Vendors is just talking about, he's like, I can't even describe how difficult this was. Just to get everything in focus there to get him in focus at the top. And we were kind of talking about this at our family event over the weekend, but like there was nothing put in to any of this film other than like titles and stuff in post production. Everything you're seeing, there's no like filters added in later. You mentioned they do kind of use like filter. Everything is on the camera. It's like it's just pure cinema. I can feel the effort. I can like it. Nothing was half-assed. I don't know how you can feel that, but I felt it the whole time I watched.
Okay, so this shot in particular, going back to the split between them, like that's what this is, right? Like I could make a really strong argument that this is they're connecting, but they're split.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of them are in their own worlds trying to reconnect, but they're cinematically they're not connected yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what this feels like to me. It's very isolating and very claustrophobic inside their own heads.
And that point you just made is the most apparent to me in the Peep Show scene at the very end with the reflection. Dude, there are so many cool little tidbits about how they filmed that 10-minute monologue. But when they're talking to each other, she dims the lights, her face goes down, and then his face is in her face.
Yeah, it like they blend, and it's like his face with her hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cross-dressing Harry Dean Stanton.
No, yeah, I actually had to pause the movie to go do something, and I paused it right on that moment, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, I loved reading more and more about the Peep Show scene at the very end. By the way, if you're a serial murderer, just go to the Peep Show and find your next victim, because that is the creepiest, weirdest kink you could ever imagine. I don't know why anyone would take that job, but
that was definitely interesting. I've never seen a Peep Show because I know all about Peep Shows.
Yeah.
But just like seeing that scene, I remember like when he walks into that area, I was like, wow, this is a vibe. Like the kind of when he was walking through that room, the walls were all fuzzy and the bar was there. And I was like, okay, like this is a vibe and it's pretty intense. And then when he goes to sit down, I was like, okay, hold on, what's happening? What is this? And I was like, oh, and I actually had to Google a couple things just to be like, okay, like I understand what's happening. And
when they filmed that Peep Show, this is apparent, but I was just really happy to learn this. But when they filmed that, there was no trickery involved at all. Like they literally couldn't see each other. They used real mirrors. They said the mirror that they had to get was like so like high quality. It was like way over their budget, but they had to get this one-way mirror just specifically for this last shot. But just little things like that. But like they practiced the monologue day and night, 3 days straight. And that's what they did, the whole last 10-minute monologue in one take. And they couldn't see each other. It all like developed and it all just like unraveled as you see it. And like I said, I can't talk enough about it. Just like I feel like I found like rediscovered like religion in cinema again. Like when this movie ended, I was frozen.
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely a good movie you sit down, and if you have the purpose of watching it is to learn and to understand why all these decisions are made, then I think it's an incredible film for sure.
So I want to talk about two things. I'm going to put a pin on the one about my dad going to college, but I want to call out this scene. So
how does he get his kid to eat vegetables? I don't get it.
Yeah, that just wow.
Oh, sorry, Scott.
My kids will be like, "What do you want for dinner?" Broccoli. We're like, "What?"
Who are you?
I just like look away and like.
I'd empty every cent I have into savings to have my youngest Knox just eat like a bowl of salad.
That's it.
So we're watching the scene when they just got to LA and Hunter and Travis have just met each other. Family tension, awkward, not bad, just like it's just so awkward because it's like I don't know what they're gonna think of me and stuff. This scene reminds me of that scene in Jaws when he's sitting there at the table and he's got his kid there and they're doing the little hand thing and copying each other. Anyway, similar time period, so it's the film quality and like the hairstyles and the house darkness and stuff like that, like very, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of leads into the next thought is I think this movie also is very culturally relevant for its time. Like it's like it is an artifact of the early 80s. There's so many things about it that are like that just screams 80s. It's the cars, it's the fact that they don't ever wear seatbelts, and that's not weird. You know, like seatbelts just weren't invented. You know, it's the fact that, you know, like Hunter likes Star Wars, you know, just like a normal kid likes Minecraft today. You know, is the fact that Hunter was sitting in the back of the truck barreling down the freeway at like 60 miles an hour. You know, things like that. It's so 80s. So my dad went to, I mentioned this a couple of times, why I love film, like how I was raised with film, is my dad went to college, got a communications degree, motion picture and television production. My dad had these kinds of conversations and stuff. Like he'd just talk and point stuff out. And in school, like he wrote a script and like made little short films and things like that. And I've seen some of them. There's this one, it's on a Betamax tape. So if we ever pull up,
Nice.
get a Betamax player sometime, I'll see if I can rustle it up and we can watch it. But it feels like the monologue scene at the end. He went to school very similar, like early 80s.
Okay.
Like I think he graduated 82 or 83, something like that.
So you
like,
certainly saw this film.
unless he was so poor he didn't,
Gotcha,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
probably the case.
Yeah.
There's this flavor of like long, dramatic shots. The thing that you can really only do with a long shot that worked really well on stage, right? It's like you have a conversation and the slowness and the tension builds up because you're watching someone's face change and their body posture change and stuff like that. So like my dad's short film was about this I don't know, this guy and this gal, and they're just in a room and they're just talking. And the whole point was like, could you build up and complete an entire thought and stuff when nothing was happening other than the dialogue? Would that be, you know, like, could you make an engaging short film out of that? The monologue in this movie obviously proves that you can, right? I mean, it's just so killer. But my dad also was talking about a script that he wrote called The Interview with the Vampire. He talks about it all the time. He's like, it's funny because I thought the script would just never go anywhere because it was such a dumb idea. And then Anne Rice wrote a book called The Interview with the Vampire. And then it got made into a movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, similar concept. But what was really popular at the time was this ambiguous, not happy ending. You know, it was the anti-Hollywood ending. And that was like, obviously the 70s rolled into early 80s quite a lot. But in particular, like in college, all of the students, it's like, oh, well, if we're not going to make a happy ending, we have to make a bad ending. So every script they would write was just like bad endings, bad endings, bad endings. And that was what was really vogue and popular. And in this movie, it was more subtle. Obviously, it wasn't a happy ending, but it wasn't a good ending. You know, it wasn't a bad. It was just not happy. And so it's funny watching this movie, seeing the film quality because of just the film stock that it was recorded on and the color grading and things like that, that was just natural to the natural light. It's so popular through the late 70s and early 80s in film. And seeing how similar the script flavor was to these movies that my dad worked on way before I was born in college, you know?
There's a lot of great choices in this movie. The most recent one, because we just saw it, but like, yes, they're in a Peep show. The director could so have easily put a boob. He goes side boob, but he doesn't ever take it to that point. I appreciated that. And there's just so many things that he doesn't show. I found it really interesting how uncomfortable Travis feels whenever there's contention. Like, for example, in this scene right here where Hunter's kind of arguing with his mom / actually his aunt. And he kind of puts his hands up on his head and he gets uncomfortable and he doesn't like confrontation. And he's really not like a father figure at all. And
He acts like a child.
he acts like a child. And there's multiple parts in the film where Hunter's like way more mature than his dad is emotionally.
Why do you drink that stuff? It smells terrible.
Yeah, he's kind of lecturing him on he shouldn't drink alcohol when they're in the bar, and he's like, I'm gonna go sit on the car. That stuff stinks, or whatever he says. There's multiple parts of that, and that all kind of leads up to the end. Yeah, like it's not a happy ending. It is in the fact that he does what he absolutely believes is true and right, and that's to reunite his son with his mother. Because you could argue that maybe she's not fit to be a mom, but you can't argue that a child needs his mom. And he drives off, and this blew my mind, but Wim Wenders was actually like they really pushed him to change the ending, and they were like, this will be so easy in post after everything's filmed. All we need to do is go on that same highway with the car, and we're gonna have Travis just pull a U-turn and end the movie. You don't have to get the same actors. You don't have to do anything. This will be so easy to add. And he completely refused. He was like, absolutely not. I would rather my film not be released at all than change the ending to what you want me to do. And there's sort of some controversy about that because this film was completely shut out of any sort of category of any Oscars or any award, not all award shows, but definitely the Oscars. The cinematography alone should have at least gotten a nomination. And I find that, I don't know, like, I'll watch the Oscars, but like, that's why I hate the Oscars. There's just like politics and stuff. Like, it's not to actually like judge the art of it. And anyways, I was like, I feel like we could all sort of take a lesson from that. Like, don't add the U-turn. Just stay true to your art. Because he argued, he was like, dude, that's like cowardly. I don't know. He was sort of going off on this in an interview, but he's like, that's not how a movie has to end. So why would I do that? And I don't know. I really respect when people stick up for their art.
No, yeah, I can definitely appreciate the conviction that he had, that he knew what story he wanted to tell, and he was going to stick to it. Doesn't matter if general audiences didn't like it, or if the upper ups wanted him to change it. If he sticks to it, then it's like, dude, I'm not going to fault you in any way. Like,
Yeah.
go you. I'm proud of you.
One other little cool thing I found in the research for this film, but like they started filming this and they didn't have the end of the movie written. And when they say the title of the film, Paris, Texas, that wasn't even the title. I have the other title written down. It was like Motel Confessions or something like that. It's not important.
That sounds terrible.
yeah, not as good. But it really put them into this uncomfortable position where, like, once he reunites with his son Hunter, like, they had to like write it as they went along. So it's like true film making.
Yeah. So why do you think it's called Paris, Texas then?
I guess it was just a destination. I mean, I don't know. Is that why? I mean, that's where Travis, in the end, that's probably where he drove to start his new life. I'm not sure exactly. You had to stump me like that.
It's
No,
fun.
Harry, do you have any thoughts? I kind of want to throw my conjecture out there.
So I was watching this film and I was like, okay, this movie feels like a redemption arc movie. And in the end, I feel like it sort of subverted. I was going to say subverted it, but honestly, the ending kind of infuriated me and it kind of tainted the rest of the movie for me, if I'm being honest about it. But I feel like I was watching a redemption
Okay,
movie.
hold on.
But-
Let me
go.
point. What part of the ending? The Peep show, his revelations of how
No.
abusive he was, or like the fact that he drove away?
The
The
fact
no
that he drove
nudity?
away.
Okay.
No, for me, it was the fact that he drove away that really infuriated me about it. Here, let's just talk about. Let's just get into it right now. I'm talking about. We'll get back to why the movie's called Paris, Texas, and my ideas on it. The thing that was really infuriating for me about it. So he comes out of the desert, he reunites with the son, and I feel like he genuinely connected with his son, and I feel like their relationship was in a very strong position to be healed, and for him to have a great life with his son. The fact that he wanted to go find his mother is very noble and great. That's awesome. I'm glad he did that. When he goes to meet her, though, he has a very strong reaction to the fact that she's in a Peep show and he gets angry. He leaves that goodbye message for his son. Then he goes and sees her. And he basically, and then there's the revelation of the fact like, oh, this like 30-year-old guy got together with a 17, 18-year-old girl. Their relationship was great at first. She got pregnant, then things just totally tanked. He was playing games with her, trying to make her jealous because he thought she was cheating on him. She tried to sneak out. He goes and ties her to the stove, puts a bell on her leg. Like honestly, I was listening to his conversation with that. And the first time I watched it, I was like, wait, hold on. Is this actually happening or is this talking about it? So I rewound and watched it. It's like, no, he actually like tied a bell to her leg so she couldn't leave. Then she burns the house down. She drops her son off with her brother-in-law. And then Travis just leaves. And I was just like, this is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. And then when he gets, so the thing is, like, he tells all that stuff, and I feel like he was basically like, I can't have a relationship with his mother, so I'm just gonna leave. And that really infuriated me, because I'm like, okay, hold on. I feel like you're throwing away your relationship with your son because you can't have a relationship with his mother. And I feel like I don't know, maybe I'm just positive, but I'm like, I feel like you could have figured something out. Like, I feel like you could have had therapy. I feel like you could have lived nearby and traded weekends or something. Like, I feel like there's a solution to the whole thing. And I feel like he just was like, nope, I'm done and I'm gone. The other part of it that frustrated me was, like, you're watching it, and I feel like the movie has the sense of like, oh, Travis is bringing his son to reunite with his mother. But I feel like the mother knew where he was the whole time. Like, she was sending him money. She knew she dropped him off with his brother-in-law. I feel like she knew where he was the whole time. So what was the point of Travis having to be the one to bring him back to her? Like, I don't know. Like I said, maybe I missed the point, but that whole section really, really infuriated me at the end.
No, I think that's valid. I just maybe, how many people would go and do something horrible like that and then disappear for 4 years and just be wandering for 4 years? Maybe he just understands himself enough to know that he wouldn't be like this scene right here where he's watching the footage of him the way he used to be, and then all of a sudden he's inspired to like be a father figure again, and he's like awkward and he's clunky, like it's not second nature to him. He can't really get it, and I think along the way, I think he just realizes that he can't fake it, and maybe that's just why he had the conviction to just the least I can do is the best thing for my child, and that's to reunite him with his mother, whether I'm in the picture or not. That has nothing to do with it. Maybe I see what you're saying. 100%.
Yeah, see, the hard part for me is I feel like he was on a good road to becoming a good father to his son throughout the film. I think that was what most of the movie was about. Like, when that maid comes and talks to him and is like, "Oh, you're looking to be a father. Like, what kind of a father do you want to be?"
He's like his
that was
chief.
that was an absolutely beautiful scene, by the way. Too.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that, and I feel like, okay, he's taking the steps to becoming a good father. But then I feel like, so he's on this road of redemption, and then all of a sudden he's like, I can't be with my wife or his mother anymore, so I'm going to throw away everything that I just worked towards and leave. I think that's the part of the film that kind of messed the rest of the movie up for me personally.
Okay, so I think that you're touching on the part that, like I said earlier, I'm still grappling with what I think of the message and what I think the message could have been. So I'm going to throw something at you guys and see what you think. I feel like if I were to boil this down, this is a very strong feminist movie, and it's trying to showcase the absolute unimportance of men. I think that's what this movie is. And that's not in like
tells the truth.
It's not like a modern take on that. The angry. I think it's just showcasing. The whole point is the best thing is like Jane is who she is because Travis beat the crap out of her. That's not Jane's fault. That's Travis's fault. And his redemption arc is not his relationship with his son. His redemption arc is realizing how unimportant he is to his son's life. Now, do I agree with that? No, not at all. Like, zero agreements on that thesis.
Totally.
I mean, this is a very European take on masculine Texanness, right? Mm-hmm. Let's throw around the jargon, like all of the masculinity of Texas and stuff. It's just like this movie emasculates all of it. And it's like anything Texas is lonely and backwater and Travis. And like Paris is this broke down place that he was going to cloister up his wife and his son and domineer them forever, and he's just going to do his thing. And it wasn't until he got out of the picture and had to relearn what it was like to be civilized that he came back out of Mexico, and went to LA where they were all great and calm and stuff. And then he had to go find his estranged wife there in the city in Texas, not out in the middle of nowhere of Texas. So I think that this movie is powerfully making that case. And it also fits with the wave of feminism at the time, you know, like Alien, this movie, like very similar vibes in like women empowering, men are bumbling, stuff like that. But it's not so over the top that it feels like a modern take on that, where it's Frozen or something like that, where like the men exist in the movie because of diversity reasons, you know, and that's it, you know, like, so I think Harrison, the fact that you're feeling frustrated about it is probably because, you know, you're a guy and you have a great relationship with your kids and your wife, and the nuclear family like feels really strong and wholesome in your life. But this movie isn't about a nuclear family. It's about a nuclear family being abused and destroyed and trying to piece it back together with the good parts and remove himself from the picture. So I think it's powerfully made, and it made me feel things and it made me question and think about stuff. But I would probably go, this movie affected me and I like it and I appreciate it. I'm glad it was made, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with it.
Well, I think with some films and stories too, like I think naturally we want to try to relate to the character. And I think part of me respects this. I mean, okay, here's a thought. Have you ever met someone who is just like so certain that they do not want kids ever? And you're like, oh, I've literally like always thought about having kids, and you know, everyone in this room has great parents. Maybe that's related, maybe it's not. But when I meet people who just like know they can't be a dad, not all the time, obviously, but from what I've heard, a lot of times that has to do with maybe they didn't have a good dad. And I don't know the story with Travis, but just to some people, like they had an accidental child. It was an accident. And I don't know. I'm grappling with it just as you guys are, but part of me just kind of respects when someone can just kind of like he's faking it till he makes it, but then he can't fake it any longer, and he respects the one choice that he can make is to reunite his child with his wife. I've said that a few times already, but I don't know. There's something about that again, I'm not a freaking dictionary or a thesaurus. I don't have all the words, but I just I respect the choice, and just Vim Vendors just stuck to his guns, and I watch movies to like feel things, and I do wish he did a U-turn at the end. But there's part of it is just like, hell yeah, I'm glad he didn't do that. I don't know. I'm grappling it with just as you guys are.
No, yeah. So I think, so going back to why it's called Paris, Texas, I think what's happening here is I think Travis sees his own story in his mind. And I think he has a romanticized version of what he thinks is going to happen.
Thematically, he talks about that a lot, right? He relates when he's drunk in the laundromat. He's telling the story about like, dad told this story about mom in Paris, and then eventually he believed it. And it was just like this romanticized, not real version. That is not reality. And so I think that's the undercurrent of everything, is like, my version of reality is not the reality that my son needs. So yeah, continue with your thought.
No, yeah, no, I think his vision of his mind is like actual Paris, France. It's this sort of romanticized, beautiful, not, it's not perfect city, but you know what I mean? Like in a lot of people's brain, Paris is the most romantic and wonderful place on the planet. But in reality, it's a dirt patch in Paris, Texas. That is actually what his reality is. And so I think that's part of it, is he thought, he's a character in his own story. He's thinking, if I can fix this, if I can reunite with my son, if I can reunite with with his mother, my wife, we're going to end up in Paris and everything's going to be great. And so I think the message of this movie a lot of times is like, look, like sometimes when you're reaching back for something you had and you want it again, sometimes you just can't. Like you can't have everything you lost, or you can't abuse somebody, you can't tie someone to a stove 10 years ago and come back and have everything be okay. You can't do that.
Yeah,
It's just the
yeah.
way it is. It is tough. Like kind of like what you were talking about, Ren. Like, when you meet people who are like, I don't want kids, sometimes it's hard to comprehend that. And same with me. Like I honestly, it's sad, but I know like 3 people in my life that I'm like, honestly, you could be a way better person, but you're not. And you're making these choices that are leading you to being in the gutter all the freaking time. And I don't know what it says about me, but in my head, I'm like, you could be better if you went for it or if you tried.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of how I view Travis in this. When he decided to get in that car and leave, I wanted to be in the seat next to him, be like, you could be happier, you could do better, you can have a great relationship with your son, and you're choosing not to. That's why this movie frustrated me.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
look, that's a very strong emotion coming out of me when I was watching this, which is great. That's what movies should do.
I just want to call out this one scene that we're looking at right now where Anne, Walter's wife, Hunter's adopted mom, his aunt, is saying, why do you keep pushing Travis and Hunter, this whole father-son business? Like, I don't want to lose Hunter. And Walter's like, Anne, like, it's not business. Like, Walter is, or like, Hunter is his son and Travis is his dad. We've been raising them, but like, I thought it was really interesting how Anne and Walter are so real in this. Like, they've been raising this little boy for 4 years. The developmental growth from 4 to 8. I mean, holy crap, that is your little boy.
Yeah.
There's so much you watch. And like, you know, I have a 3-year-old and I feel like my 3-year-old has been in my life my whole life. You know,
100%.
Like it's just like so much happens in 3 years.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's like that selfish, I want my son to not get taken away from me. And Walter's like, this isn't our choice. I mean, they're father and son. And like, if this were a modern movie, it would be like a kidnapping movie, but it's not, you know, it's like an 80s movie. So anyway, I just thought that, and after this scene, like Anne's not in the movie anymore. Like, she's not important. Like, she has one telephone call to be worried about her son, but that's about it.
2 things about Anne I wanted to ask you guys about. Okay, she has a French accent, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's important. Like, I wonder if that fits into the whole romanticized version of Paris, and that's why they decided to have an actress with a French accent. I wonder if that just adds to it.
That is an interesting symbolism that I would be really interested in exploring. Yeah. That's interesting.
The other thing, look, maybe it's just me, but I felt like she was incredibly chummy with Travis. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, there was so many scenes that was like she goes up and like hugs him, and it's like, okay, they hug, and you're like, they're still hugging. Okay, she still has his arms around him.
Yeah.
Okay, like when he's sitting, like, there's a different scene during the daytime when they're standing out looking over the city, and she comes over and like sits up and like really snuggles in with him, and I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, I was very confused. And then also there's another scene where she wakes up in the middle of the night. She's nude. You get a little side boob in there, and she opens the door, and you're like, okay, this feels like a very sexual attention scene, vulnerability on her part, something like that. And Travis is involved in the scene because he's downstairs. And so I don't know. I was trying to figure out, like, okay, why did they decide to do this? And I really couldn't figure out why.
Well, I could be wrong, but I took it as one of the reasons that Travis left is not because of another woman. He's not tempted by that. So you kind of put it together that maybe it's something a little bit deeper. And as we all find out later in the film when he describes what happened, it is deeper than that. But he didn't leave in want of another woman or to cheat. I guess that doesn't really interest him at this point. I think in a lot of other movies, if you had someone doing that and trying to tempt you, I think most men would fall to that, but he doesn't. So there's something noble about him in that regard.
It's funny to think of it like symbolically as she's tempting him, you know, from the script writing perspective or whatever. I absolutely didn't think of it. I just thought he's weird in French.
Yeah. Different culture for sure. Yeah, she basically like slips him some tongue, and the husband's just like, yeah, she's French. Yeah, what's the big deal?
They're French kissing.
Gosh.
Yeah, she gets a pass.
Kiss.
There was I don't know about you guys, but okay, during the monologue, there's one part where there's a part where Jane, when she's kind of got her back to the wall, and he's talking to her through the one-way mirror.
Oh, where she's like collapsed, talking and wrestling the box.
Yeah, talking to the speaker. Yeah.
And the camera zooms in, it's all close, and there's a moment where Travis is like, it's room 1520. And then she's like, yeah. And he goes, it's room 1520. And she doesn't repeat it back to him. And I'm like, she's not going to show up. She's not repeating the number back. She's not going to remember. She already knows she's not going to show up. And I think that was just a huge sense of relief when I did see her in that room. I think that added another element to it. Yeah.
See, I had a different reaction to that. When he said the room number, my stomach just dropped and I was like, he's leaving. And that was kind of the spark that led to my frustration and anger at the last scene of the film. When he said that room number, I was like, he's going to leave him. He's totally just going to turn and leave. He's going to continue walking.
I didn't see it coming. Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
I finished watching this movie late last night, and then I got up this morning, and my wife and Bridget were in the kitchen, and I was like, yeah, so I finished Paris, Texas, and I was like, I don't really know what to say about it. They're like, well, what was it about? So I told them the whole story of the movie and got to the end, and it was like describing like stuff, and I just like cried when I was telling them the movie. And I was like, what is happening? Like, like why? I cried when I watched the movie, and then I cried when I told them about the movie.
Dude, I've cried like 4 times since.
I've not done that with another movie before. And I want to know, like, why is this movie so raw?
Dude, it's like, if you're a parent, this movie is completely different to someone who doesn't have kids.
Yeah, like, why would you watch it without kids?
Yeah, it would just be like, oh, it has a 4.4 on Letterboxd. That's really high. Why is it so high?
I think there's two big reasons for why this film is really, really impactful. One, like I said, I feel like this movie is mostly a redemption story that fails at the end. And that's just heartbreaking because we want people to be happy. We can see the vision. We can see Paris. We can see how good things can be. And he decides not to do that. And that hurts you personally deep inside because you want him to be happy. You want to believe in happy endings. And sometimes it's not even the circumstances that ruins the ending. Sometimes it's ourselves that ruin the ending because we make a terrible choice. Like even the scene we're watching right now, like he's walking across the bridge and there's a guy up there just screaming, just yelling whatever he can think of, terrible things, things like that. And he reaches out and pats him on the arm. I specifically wrote down a note. I was like, he's a noble guy. He feels for this dude. He's reaching out to him and saying, hey, I can't help you right now because you're in this state, but I see you. I understand you. Like Travis has these good qualities. He is a good person for a lot of things, but he chooses not to follow through with that. I think that's one reason why this movie hit me too, and why it probably hits a lot of people as well.
So my wife just finished a book. It's out to beta readers right now.
Yes.
And
I'm reading it.
Yeah, that's right. You're a beta reader. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a murder mystery. And we were in the process of writing this story. So I'm not going to talk about the book for your benefit, Harrison. But we were inspired by Broadchurch. And Broadchurch is just so good. So spoilers for Broadchurch if you haven't watched it. Skip this next section. Like, Broadchurch does not end happy.
Just to insert here, Broadchurch is probably one of the greatest TV series I've ever watched in my entire life. It was the most emotional and intense thing I've ever seen.
If they had done anything different with it, it just would have pulled the punch so hard. It would have been like, oh, you're glossing over this horrible, horrible thing that happened in this small town. It's not like the end was bleak. It was like the murder was solved and it was as resolved as it could be, and it was open for healing to occur. And I think that balance is really, really important when you're trying to show. I feel like that's kind of what you're circling around, Harrison, is like, what is the thing that Travis could have done as a character, not as what Wim Wenders wanted to portray, but what could have Travis have done to show that he really had a character growth moment throughout the whole film and it all mattered, right? Without pulling the punches. Would a U-turn have ruined that? I think it would have in this movie. So what could he have done where you could have the complete impact of everything and still go, oh, because if he pulled a U-turn, you would have been like, oh, like Travis and Jane and Hunter are going to be this happy little family after what he did to her like 5-6 years or whatever, tied her to a freaking stove, and let her scream all night. Like it's so bad. That level of stuff is just so bad that you're like, okay, so you should be dead, Travis, is what should have happened. To have some sort of redemption, some sort of repentance in this movie, I think that they really showcased with this growth that, like, he is a normal human, he's a complex human, he is a human that made up stories that he used to justify all these horrible actions and stuff like that. But, like, he's changed, right? But is that enough? And I think that's kind of like the flavor of this movie is, I don't know that is enough for him to excuse this stuff. And the only reason that they were able to have this monologue between the Glass and the Peep Show place is because they were separated from each other. There was safety to be vulnerable with each other in a place that would never have happened anywhere else. And so the fact that, like, he did drive away, like, that sucks, but I don't really know what they could have done otherwise to show, like, he's got the change. It's gonna be better, but he still has to deal with the consequences of his actions, which you need the justice to be served.
Yeah.
The mercy has been all over the movie, so where's the justice?
So I'm just going to throw this out here. I'm a dude on the internet. I don't know anything. I think one thing that would have changed this film and made me a little less angry about it is if he didn't bring his son to go find his mom and just left him with his brother-in-law. Because the fact that he involved his son in this whole thing kind of also, that was another reason that kind of frustrated me. Like, I love the experience of them, growing and connecting on the road trip to Houston. I really love the moment.
But it would have been a kidnapping movie.
Exactly. I really love the moment when they get to the crossroads and Hunter just says, "Turn left, Dad. Like, go to Houston." Like, he tells him that. That was a really strong moment. Yeah, it's the fact that he brought him, and it's like, hey, I'm going to bring you here. Also, I'm going to leave you in the hotel room all day by yourself, and maybe your mom will come back. I think that's another thing. I think if he didn't bring him, I think the ending would have been a little more easy to swallow. If the reuniting scene was between his mother and the son was at the brother-in-law's house, I think I would have digested this film a little better.
Yeah, it's a really interesting character study because so many things are true. Like, yeah, what he did is disgusting, deplorable, but you don't even see that coming once he tells the story because he's such a quiet and subdued and just like mute kind of guy. Doesn't show a lot of emotion. You can just tell he's fractured and destroyed. And, the director just argues, he's like, the whole thing is that he made a selfless decision. And even that's complicated because some people would say he deserves to be put in jail or beat up or whatever. And instead, he's choosing to do the one thing he can do. I don't want to repeat myself, but I see both sides. I really do. And I think that's what I really like about it, is that it's complicated. There is some justice in the end, but like, he just knows he can't be a dad. And he shows it throughout the entire movie on basically every interaction other than when they can connect because he acts like a child. They kind of like hop and skip like across the street from one another, and they're both both kids.
No, you just saying that made me think. I'm gonna stew on that.
Yeah.
So
damn it, Ren! You actually made me want to rewatch this movie that I didn't want to ever see again.
Dude,
okay.
Watch that YouTube video I mentioned with the cinematography. If you ever rewatch it, I'm telling you, it'll add a whole new depth to it. And then with the colors, you mix in the color aspect, and then this complicated character study. This is so much deeper because I could totally put my like before we started recording, I was like, I will accept no slander about this film. Like, this movie is pure and like there's just something magical about it. But I also 100% see what you're saying. But there's layers to it, and yeah. So I've just seen like the second or third layer. There's probably more that I don't see yet.
So is it just to add more wood to this fire? Empirically, a nuclear family with parents that love each other is the strongest unit that we have, right? And so I feel the frustration that Harrison feels in a similar way, though probably not quite as I don't
robust.
know. between Ren and
nuance.
Harrison understanding, right?
The
Like,
mediator. Yeah.
the fact that he drove away felt like a selfish decision.
Yep.
He's like, because
Yes.
you could say, oh, he just scapegoated out again. He's just another absent father, and Hunter needs a strong dad in his life, and it would have been better if he was with Walter and Anne. So it's better for Jane, but is it better for Hunter? Most likely not. So the selfless act would have, for him to get over himself, to grow up, become humble, stop abusing his wife, and be a good dad. And you can only do that if you're challenged and you're stretched to grow. And it wouldn't be an easy process, but it would be a lifelong process of becoming a better person. That is me to the T, right? I was this selfish kid. We got married, had kids, and I just have to be better every day. And I'm like, oh, I said that thing again. I was annoyed at my kids, so I snapped at them. There's no other reason I snapped at them other than I was annoyed. I was an absolute a-hole to my kid because I was annoyed. That's it. I mean, that's just being a parent, is you go, dang it, I know what I did, and I did it for the 10th time. And eventually you just stop doing it. Less and less and less and less. You know that that's your nature, and so then you focus on it and you become a better person. And then, you know, when you're like an old 80-year-old person, it's like watching Grandpa Killian just sit around, like watching the grandkids and great grandkids and stuff just exist in chaos, and all they do is just like, meh.
I am curious. I would be interested to watch this movie in about 20 years and see if it changes kind of my perspective, you know? Like
5. Just do 5.
Yeah, there you go.
5 years is a long time.
Let's see. So I just had a couple little notes left that I wanted to share. So 2 things about the Peep Show scene at the very end. I kind of liked that the drywall wasn't finished on that one side of the wall. It felt very realistic. It felt very like I could see them setting everything up and be like, well, why would we drywall this? I'm not spending money on that. The customers can't see it. Who cares? You know, it's all about the illusion.
The girls don't care. They're all a part of the fake facade anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, that like sweater she was wearing, I don't know, that whole scene of her being in that was just so striking to me. Like, as soon as it came up, I was like, I could see people screenshotting this and having to be their phone background or like having it on the wall or something. I also really liked that that scene felt very much like a confessional booth scene. Like when she sits down and she has her back to it and he's above and he's looking through the glass. I don't know. It felt very like, you know, like just like a confessional booth to me. Just to go along with what they were talking about as well. They were just so emotionally open to each other, just confessing everything about everything that happened to them and trying to semi-resolve it, I guess.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out Nastasa Kinski, who plays Jane, she's a German actress, and she has a really thick German accent, and I could not tell that. That didn't even cross my mind when watching her. She just has like a perfect American accent, which to us might seem kind of easy to do because we're American. But anyways, the whole everyone in this movie, like just everyone impressed me with their acting, and it's a small cast, but I think they just nailed everyone in this film.
Let's see, and then the other one. So when I think it's the first time he goes, he picks with the phone and it just shows him, and I literally thought my screen froze because he just sat there with the phone up against his ear the whole time. And I was like, wait, hold on. Like, okay, everything's moving and people are talking. Oh, okay. Like it was really intense on how long that camera stayed on him throughout that whole process.
And you could argue like it's too long, but just put yourself just for a second. This is what I was thinking about, because that same scene, I think I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, what's going on? But if you're an actor, you have a camera staring at you and they say action, it's so easy to just like add your own little like facial expression or something to kind of break the tension or whatever. And it's a definite choice. Everything in this movie was a definite choice. But I would imagine most actors would feel really weird and awkward being that motionless. And Harry Dean Stanton just uses that as a strength in this movie. And it's what was asked of him, obviously, but anyways, I just wanted to point that out. I think
Mhm.
I like. Not every movie should be like this movie, but I love that this movie is the way it is.
Mhm. That's a good way to put it.
All right, let's wrap up, y'all.
Yeah. No, it's a 5 out of 5. I've long-winded talked enough about this film. I'll never forget the way I felt on my first viewing. I'll watch it again one day, but yeah, I need some time. And actually, I think talking about, well, every movie that we talk about, but especially talking about this, it's really helped me kind of digest the ending. I already respected it, but now I just added an extra layer to it all. So thanks.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious that this film didn't really connect with me. Well, it's hard to say that it didn't connect with me because, like I said, it had some really strong moments, and I did enjoy those moments. I just felt like the movie really put a sour taste in my mouth at the very end, and it kind of tainted the rest of the film for me. So I would say this: if I got invested into wanting to learn how to film, and I wanted to really dive into that world, I think this is going to be one of the first movies I go to watch. I originally came into this, and my thought on rewatching it, I was basically like, I don't ever want to see this movie again. I'm not interested in watching it again. This conversation with you guys has changed that. I'm down to watch this one more time, at least to really digest it, especially your comment. I really liked your comment, Ren, about Travis connecting with his son only when he's acting childish or when he's in his son's world. That really hit me because kind of my whole argument with this film was I was saying that I feel like Travis was actually growing as a father and connecting with his son. But when I add in the thought of like the only time he was connecting with him was when he was acting childish, that changes it. And it's like maybe that makes me doubt myself and think, wow, he probably wasn't growing as a father at all. And I should have seen the ending coming. So I'm interested in rewatching it again. In terms of my rating, in terms of like what I'm putting on Letterboxd, it's harsh for me to say this, but like a 1.5 star for me. It just like I feel like this is like right now, if I never rewatch it again, I'll probably YouTube one or two specific scenes, every 2 years. I'll be like, oh, I want to watch that one scene from Paris, Texas. And if someone came up and said, hey, I'm interested in watching Paris, Texas, what do you think? I'd probably say something along the lines of like, I didn't really enjoy it. If you want to watch it, go for it, but it wasn't really my vibe. That's probably what I would say. So
Yeah. I find it interesting because like when I looked at the reviews on Letterboxd, like honestly, a 4.4 out of 5, I've never seen any rating higher than that.
that really shocked me because I came into this very, very blind. I didn't know anything. So when I watched the movie and I got to the end and I had that sour taste in my mouth, I went onto IMDb, I went onto Letterboxd, and I was like, whoa, what did I miss? Like apparently I'm just
Yeah.
an idiot. Like this is one of those. This is my one fear, by the way. This is, I say like, yeah, this movie's a 1.5, and then I just know there's gonna be 10 people out there like, oh, why don't you go watch a Marvel movie? That's probably your more pace. It's just like,
So
it's just like,
so here,
dude,
just to give
like
you
like pretentiousness when it comes to films and what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy, it just doesn't even make sense to me. I'm just like,
Yeah,
like
totally.
just fuck off. Like really?
No, I get it. But here, this is just interesting. If you look at the ratings on Letterboxd, which I think I respect a Letterboxd score more than like a Rotten Tomatoes. I just think it's more. I think it's just a better general sense of what most people think about it. But so a 1.5 rating on this, 1.7 thousand people have rated that, and 200,000 people rated it a 5 out of 5. So you're definitely in the minority. I respect it, but I bet you on your second viewing you're gonna be like 2.5.
Yeah. No, yeah. There you go. Bump it up by that half. No, yeah. Like I said, I'm interested in rewatching this. I'm probably not going to rewatch it for a couple of years, but
yeah,
if I have a moment where I'm like, I'm down to give it a shot, I will.
This movie blindsided me. I absolutely expected it to be closer to Devil All the Time. I expected it to be this gnarly small town.
I was afraid it was going that route.
Something and
okay. I'm glad you guys said that because I literally thought it was going to turn into a horror movie.
But I like Ren. I like Ren.
I like Ren too.
I like Ren. Like Ren.
I like you too, man. All right.
Oh my gosh. You guys.
I was just in love with the filming of this film. I loved the long shots. I loved the huge American shots of people walking quietly towards the camera. Just like the filming, the coloring, the pacing and stuff, like, it totally caught me off guard, and it felt intentional the whole way through. And so I was just hooked. I was hooked the whole movie. And it was long, it was slow, but I think to tell this story, it needed to be long and slow. Like I said, I don't know that I agree or like the message that I think I'm seeing.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it was so beautifully done that, like, holy crap, like all good art, like you're making the case really solid for it. So if that helps me become a more developed person, or at least understand a perspective that I don't agree with better, like, I'm all for that. For all of that, I mean, it's probably a 4 for me. Like, it's just a beautiful movie that I'm just thinking about it now and I'm getting teary eyed. So it's a hard one. Like I said, at the beginning, I don't know what to say. I said a bunch of stuff during this podcast and I still don't know what to say. I think a lot can be said about this movie, and it's not easy to put in the box. And I love that about it. It feels like a weird French art house movie in Texas.
Yep.
Yeah.
The medium of film is so mysterious and freaking beautiful, and it's movies like this that just, like, I'm like, let's watch more freaking movies.
It's
I
so
wanna find-
slimy.
It's as slimy as it gets. And with that, I think let's end this, and we gotta let's move into the last part of our podcast, and we're gonna pick out a film category. Okay.
Yeah, drop it, Ren.
So we're all doing 2 categories, just in case any new listeners are popping in. But we all pick 2 categories. We random draw it. It's not that complicated. Here we go. So my 2, and I'm gonna make a little rule for myself. I'm not gonna use the same 2 that didn't get picked last time, but I will keep 1 and change out the second one. So
There you go.
my first category will be history. Very vague. There's so many good movies that I can just think off the top of my head. And then after we, just a side note, after we select the category on the next episode, we're going to announce the 5 films that we pick for that category and then random draw 4 from there. So my second category is bangers only. Do I need to give any
sausages or
Bangers and mash.
only
gonna
bangers
pick
and mash? Got it.
Every movie from the UK ever.
Yeah. So like The Godfather, Jaws, just banger, E.T., bangers only.
So every Steven Spielberg. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh yeah, Indiana Jones. Yeah, basically. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So what you're saying is high popular movies that'll get us more clicks. Got it. Okay.
And not. Hey, I want to narrow this down. Schindler's List. It can't be complicated. It's a banger. All right. Schindler's List is freaking incredible, but I don't think that. Just a little example of something that I don't think would go.
Okay.
Yeah, so a very
so
well-regarded movie that is fun to watch. Got it.
It's just awesome. Okay.
Or good or great.
So Interstellar, probably a little too complicated.
No, that counts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say yes. Even though
Oh,
the
see,
movie's
yeah.
no, just
Christopher Nolan.
no. All right. Those are my 2. But
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Harrison, you're 2.
So my 2, I'm picking 2 new ones. I'll go back and try and redeem the ones that have been chosen for me recently. But I thought of these 2 and they just kind of stuck with me. The first one I'm going to put up is style over substance. And I'm not saying that the movie can't have substance. Like it's like, oh, it's just a crappy movie and it just looks good. But I want us to come up with movies that have a specific look, a specific style, something where you look at and you're like Tron Legacy is kind of the movie that really kind of piqued my thought with this one. It has a very specific look about it. And
Fifth Element could be on the list.
Yeah, Fifth Element could definitely be on that list. We could rewatch that and do another 2-hour episode on that, I'm sure. My other one, this is going to be a little different. And if it gets picked, I think it's going to change, what we're going to do with it. I'm going to pick Don Bluth. Anything that he touched, anything that he was involved in heavily. Yeah,
okay.
like anything that he is really involved in, we can watch his movies. And I think it'll be interesting if it ends up getting picked. And I think I'm going to try and stick on this thing until we get it, because I want to see how we go about it, because we're really going to be looking into someone specific and seeing what, what their style is and what they're involved in. I think it'd be really interesting. We could do maybe a little history on them too. I think that'd be cool.
So this isn't like a director. It's like a director highlight or like an artist highlight, because there's So like he doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be a Don Bluth production to be on the list.
So Sleeping Beauty could work.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
just anything that you can confidently say, like Don Bluth had a hand in this film, and it doesn't have to be extremely significant, but you could be like, yeah, Don Bluth was in that.
Sounds like you just want to watch Thumbelina.
It's All Dogs Go to Heaven, Ren. Come on.
Oh yeah, okay, I'm down for that. All right,
You
cool.
dirty man.
Well, no, honestly, I just want to watch All Dogs Go to Heaven so I can watch it with my son and have him go, "What the hell did you just make me watch?"
It's like, why are their mouths so annoying?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. All right, but yeah, those are my choices.
All right, Scotty.
All right, so I'm gonna reuse one as well. I'm gonna keep hammering on time travel until we get it.
Yes.
So time travel
Cool.
and wife's picks.
Mm.
Our wives
I
have
like
to
that.
put together their Cinema Slime 5, and then we randomly draw from those.
Love it. That's great. And honestly, maybe they can feature in the episode somehow or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, we
like
can
that.
mention their names.
There we go.
In the background, my wife's like, "So I have to listen to an episode now?"
God.
Oh, crap.
I like our real babies, Ren, not your stupid podcast names.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you ready?
I'm ready.
Got my little
what do you think-
randomizer?
what do you think will get picked?
What?
What do you think will get picked?
Time travel? It
You know
better.
I think the
I'm not
wife's
gonna
pick
lie.
will get picked.
That's literally what I just thought too, Scott. So
All right.
okay, I have it. It's mirrored on the
Here-
screen, so I'm
Here
not
we go.
messing with it. Here we go. Time travel. I'm not even joking. Oh my god, you can't even see it, but it's time travel. Okay.
Cool. You know, it's funny. Yeah, my buddy Marcus, he just sent me a movie recommendation, and he recommended Time Cop, which falls into this category. So that might go on my list. Have you seen that?
No,
Jean-Claude Van.
I know of it.
Yeah.
I've heard so many good things about it. I if you don't put it on the list, I'm putting it on mine.
That's so funny. Okay, cool.
I already have my Cinema Slime picked. You guys ready?
You got what you wanted.
No, I'm just kidding. All right,
That's so
y'all.
cool.
Next week is Bubba Hotep. We're going to whiplash back into the most not Paris, Texas movie you have ever seen. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this movie with you guys because the production of this movie is just as good as the movie, and the movie is just good. And it's the most Scott movie you can think of.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
It's pretty awesome.
I'm excited,
Awesome.
guys.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
No, I think we're set. I'm gonna go eat the Panda Express that's on my kitchen table right now.
All right, brother.
Love you guys.
Love you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.